Hello. I think we're going to get started. Welcome to Gallery 400. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Stewart. I'm the director here, and I'm so pleased to have you all here. Feel free. It's okay. Out the door. Come on in. So I'm the director here at Gallery 400, and I see a number of familiar faces here, but just kind of as a whole, maybe everyone who's never been here before could raise their hand who's never been to Gallery 400. I just asked you. So maybe you know what we are, but we are the University Gallery of the Contemporary Gallery of the University of Illinois at Chicago, and we present exhibitions, lectures, and co-administer a grant for local Chicago artists called Color. This program tonight, Voices, is one in a series of lectures called the Voices Lecture Series, in which we invite artists, critics, curators, and writers on the arts to speak about their work. And we're very pleased to have Mario Ybarra Jr. here tonight. So, thank you. Before I introduce Mario, I want to thank the Inter-University Program of the Latino Research and the Smithsonian Latino Center for including tonight's program in the Chicago 2016 Spring of Latino Art. So if you don't know about that, there are little flyers outside. Please pick one up. And for our connections to the Latino Art Now conference, which is being held at the Cultural Center and here at UIC this weekend, Thursday through Saturday. And again, there's a little card outside if you'd like to learn more about it. So we're so proud to participate in this program alongside so many great colleagues, institutions, and artists. And a heads up, as part of the conference, Gallery 400 is presenting a performance lecture by Josh Rios and Anthony Romero on Saturday in midday. I encourage everyone to register for the conference and participate, but if you want to attend only Josh and Anthony's performance, no conflict of participation is required. Please feel free to come and join us Saturday at 12:45 here in this room. It's going to be wonderful. So back to tonight, brief introduction. Mario Ybarra Jr. is a visual and performance artist, educator, and activist who creates sculptures, installations, photographs, and activist interventions, producing what he calls, quote, contemporary art that is filtered through a Mexican-American experience in Los Angeles. Research and referencing multiple sources, his work combines street culture iconography, popular culture, and historical, political, and/or quintessentially American imagery. Two such sources would include the famous 1983 film Scarface and the now demolished early 20th century Wrigley Field that existed in Los Angeles. In 2002, Ybarra co-founded the collective Slanguage, which, with great generosity and wild inventiveness, built community, trained youth artists, and presented exhibitions and a very wide range of programs in a storefront studio in Wilmington, California. Slanguage now has a space at LAX Art, which hopefully you can share with us. His solo exhibitions, which have had titles like Scarface Museum, Take Me Out, Lonely as an Island, Be Good, If You Can't Be Good, Be Careful, have taken place at numerous museums and galleries, including the Fabric Workshop in Philadelphia, the Gallery at Pasadena City College, Barco, Madrid, Art Pace San Antonio, and in 2008, the Art Institute of Chicago, among many others. He has been included in group exhibitions such as Made in LA 2012 at the Hammer Museum and LAX Art, Alien Nation at the IC in London, Uncertain States of America at the Orange County Museum of Art, and the 2008 Whitney Biennial. He studied art as an undergraduate at the Art Center College of Art in Pasadena and at Otis College of Art and Design, and received his MFA from UC Berkeley. Please help me welcome Mario Ybarra Jr.
Wow, thank you. Wow, those two kids that don't even go to school here showed up here today. I'm so excited. And you see behind the pole back there? You're exactly there. Thank you, Gallery 400, for having me. Thank you, all you guys, for coming out tonight. Really do appreciate your time. My name is Mario Ybarra Jr. I'm an artist. I just had that wonderful introduction. Hearing all those things that I've done, and there's so many other things that I've done, but I was reminded of this story about Shaq, you know, the basketball player Shaq. And like when he was a kid, his dad only let him have his trophies for a little bit of time, like a month or something like that. And like he would put them up on the mantle, and then like he's like, all right, Shaq, like you look at those trophies too long. He would take away the trophies, and Shaq would be like, damn, I got some new trophies, right? And as artists, like that's kind of our sentiment, right? We're like, oh, we can't live off of our old trophies. But so I don't know what the new trophies are gonna be like. But I can imagine them, they have fountains and water coming off of them. They kind of look like something from outer space. But what are those trophies and what will I achieve? But I like to tell stories. Who likes to tell stories? Raise your hand if you like to tell stories. And I'm gonna walk in front of this a lot of times, so don't get all upset. I'm not the best slide presenter in the world, but I like to tell stories. So you guys like to tell stories? What kind of stories do you like to tell?
Stories of my grandma and neighbor.
Grandma and neighbor? Well, you're my kind of story. Anybody else like to tell stories? Are they real or make believe stories? Real? Real? Like that? And don't you spice them up? You spice them up. And what kind of stories do you like to tell?
Ghosts, like espantos.
Ghost stories? Oh man, ghost stories. One of my first trips to Chicago, I took a ghost tour of like downtown, and there was like some demon baby that's supposed to be inside the university, and alley by the theater section where everybody died because they couldn't escape the theater fire. And now, where are you from? And what kind of ghost stories do you like to tell?
Well, my house is haunted, so.
Your house is haunted?
Yeah.
Your current house?
My current house. The house I've always lived in.
Wow. Do you know who's haunting you?
I don't know, but we've seen a woman and a woman.
You've seen them?
Yeah, and like an old man.
And an old man? Oh my God. I like ghost stories. You know, I have to walk 4 blocks back by myself.
I guess like more in-depth ghost.
All right. Anybody else like to tell stories? Who in your family told you stories that you excited?
In my family, yeah.
Your dad, he's a storyteller. Anybody else? Who's a storyteller? Anybody else back there?
I like to tell fish tales.
Fish tales? Like big fish, the one that got away?
Yeah,
All right.
I catch them.
You catch
I
them.
got stories about land in the big one.
Oh, landing the big one. Oh, all right. Do you have pictures
Yep.
on Instagram or are
No,
they
they're
Googleable?
they're mostly in a shoebox.
Oh, in a shoebox. And you've been fishing your whole life then, I imagine.
Most of it.
And with who? Your father, grandfather, uncle?
Both.
Both?
A lot of different people, yeah.
And were they big fish tale stories?
Not as much as I.
Oh, so you're the first in the line of fish tale.
Yeah, I blazed the trail.
There's a trail. All right. You're the first one to do it. All right, well, I like to tell stories, and there's all kinds of stories. And I'm going to tell you some stories with pictures. And, okay, so this photograph here, I've been thinking about, like, because in my family, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, everybody, like you just said, where are you from?
I'm here about all my family.
From East Lake.
Yeah.
Well, this is a photograph that maybe about 6 months ago, I like opened up my Facebook account, right? We all do that when we get home, we look at my phone. And then it said like, Russell Harpo Martinez has tagged you. I'm like, Russell Harpo Martinez? Who's that? So like I click on the thing and whoop, this picture comes up. And I'm like, what picture is this, right? Like, what is this? And I'm like, I think this is Russell, Big Harpo from the neighborhood. But why is he sending me this picture? And I scroll over left and I'm like, that's my mom. So that must be me. Right? I'm like, oh my God, like, what? And he tagged me on that, right? So verified that was me because they had a tag on top of my head, right? So I'm like, that's me. I'm like, oh my God, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I gotta show this picture to my mom. Because mom, first of all, mom, why was I have a red bandana on my head? Hanging out with all these homeboys and homegirls. Like, where was this? I need the backstory to this photograph, right? So I screenshot it, right? One of my sisters taught me how to do that. Screenshot it, and I sent it in a text to my mom because she finally got a smartphone, right? And it's like, I'm like, Mom, what is going on with this photograph? And she's like, oh no, mijo, I I didn't put that bandana on your head. Harpo did. Harpo put that bandana on your head and said, oh, he's little man from the east side, right? Like, he gave me the, you know, when they do the night alarm. Can I use your umbrella real quick? You know, like if we were Keith Richards or somebody, and they night us in Britain, and they'd be like, oh, right, and you know the night, like, I guess this thing, Harpo was like, oh, right, and tying the bandana on my head. I imagine there's this whole, like, angels and cherubs hanging out in the back of the Impala and whatever. And like, this guy, like, Southern California, I just came back, I just came from LA, it's like summertime out there, right? And like, Harpo's wearing this, this thing's gonna drive me nuts. Alright. This thing is driving me nuts. What can we do? So I put it down here. Not good. Okay, we're good. Got some headroom. So this photograph showed up, right? There are these kind of mystery photographs. These histories pop up when we're least expecting it. These things that we don't even know are out there in the world. They're out there in the world. And then just by a simple, Harpo getting to Facebook and tagging this photograph that who knows where. You know where this photograph probably lived for a long time, Mr. Fishtail?
The shoebox?
In a shoe. You got it, right? Shoe in a shoebox. And then all of a sudden he takes a photograph and then it exists in the world. So there are these histories or these photos of yourself that you don't even know are out there, and like, look at me. From day one. I didn't have a chance. I didn't have a chance. I was like, what is that? How old I look there? 2? Maybe? Alright. I didn't have a chance. Okay, this is another photograph, right? One Christmas, my family and I are, all of us have very complicated relationships with our family. With me, because I feel like I'm hypersensitive and I'm aware of everything. Like, it's very hard for me to be around all of my family because I'm like, they'll be telling a story here, and then I'm like, oh, I know where that story came from, and I know where this came from, and I know why they're giving that look, and like it just like my condition kicks in, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm too sensitive. I need to fine, I gotta be ghost. Because I can't take it. I'm like too sensitive. Like some of us are just more sensitive than others. And as artists, what are we trained to do? We're trained to observe fucking everything, every detail. They sit us in a room for hours, and they make you look at some stuffed animal or some draped thing over some mannequin hand, and you gotta sit there and draw it, and you gotta observe. And then they tell you, you get the little slide. They don't do that no more. They still do the slide thing where you have to get the slide holder and stick it in front of the drawing and then draw that part. That's how. Yeah. Do they do that? Yeah? Well, anyway, when I was in school, they make, the slide holder. So we were being like light drawing or observation drawing, and then we got to get this little thing and put it in front. And only draw a little section right there. So I want to draw your foot in. And so we have to learn how to draw everything. And we're looking at things very observationally. So I tell a long story. Somebody will have to shut me up when an hour comes in. This thing was in the thing. Okay, that shoebox photo, my mom, me as a baby with all the big homies from the neighborhood, right? And then this is my mom again, this is my dad, and this is me as a baby, and then this is our dog Snooky. Right? It was this huge dog. He was like this big lion. One time he bit me on the head, and my grandma went and put him to sleep. It was horrible. He didn't. And one Christmas, my aunt gives me this black envelope. And I'm like, what is this? And it's kind of fat. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, an envelope's like money and it's fat. It's not just a check, because checks are flat, like it's cash. That's what I thought. It's this big black envelope. She's like, Mom, I need to give you this. Okay. And I open it up and there are all these, like maybe 10 photographs like this. And I tell you why these are special. And I'm like, oh my God, these are pictures of my mom and dad, like a family reunion. Because my mom and dad, they were very, very young. My mom was 18 when she had me. My father was 21. They were divorced within 5 years. And, who knows Photoshop? Who knows how to do Photoshop? Is anybody a Photoshop master? Because some of you guys are Photoshop. Okay, my mom didn't invent Photoshop, but she invented Photoshop. And that when my mother and father got divorced, she chopped up all my dad's head from all of the photographs. So I grew up with this picture album with like half of an arm holding me as a baby. Or like me in somebody's arms with no head. And I assumed it was my father, but there was no actual like Photoshop. My mom invented Photoshop. And I guess my aunt, in knowing this, saved a stash of these photographs, right? And then she figured when I was old enough that I would get this like inheritance of 5 photographs that my mom didn't chop. Right? So these things float around. Another photograph. When I was about 8, when I was in art school, you know, you're in art school and you're like, oh yeah, I can do everything, I can paint anything, I can, like, you want to wear a beret and shit. And this photograph was in my grandmother's house of all of her siblings, of my great grandparents, and then all of her siblings, right? So this is something that, I don't know, this must have been in the early part of the 20th century. I'm thinking it might have been 1940 maybe. And now it'd be something that I don't even know where you go take studio photography anymore. Like I know at one time we would go to like JCPenney or Sears, and we all have those pictures. And the ones that I have of myself now, they're kind of orangey looking now, and I have like a Hawaiian shirt. And I'm like, no, I didn't smile. Okay, just kind of look then. So like this is something that somebody would come around in the town and provide this service, right, and then paint these. I don't know if they're really paint, they're more like photo montage style, right? And so this is my great grandfather. His name was Juan, and this is my great grandmother. Her name is Soledad. And I have hope now once I found this photograph that my mustache will go through this part. Because for a long time I was like worried it's just gonna like be flat. But when I saw this, I was like, dude, yeah, dude, like look, someday, he's about 70, but I got a couple of years to do. And this is my grandmother here, Soledad, so she was a junior, and I'm a junior, right? So it's like Mario Ybarra Jr., Soledad, Venegas Jr., no, something like that. Segunda. But she grew up in a place called San Nicolas de Ybarra in the state of Jalisco, which is near this lake called Chapala, which is not too far away from Guadalajara. And that's the little hometown that my grandmother on my father's side and my grandfather on my father's side grew up. So I was like, oh man, like, all this stuff started getting kind of interesting. And then she passed away a few years ago. And then at the funeral, because it's like the Facebook generation, everybody's like exchanging Facebooks. And all my cousins, like my extended cousins, all have this like, kind of gets annoying because they start messaging each other and it's like, oh, bring up this. And you're like, I don't want to hear all this. But then these photos pop up, right? And this one was different from the one we had in our house. Like my grandmother had a different hairdo, so it's a version. It's a version of the one we had in our house. And the one we had in our house, at my grandmother's house, was all cracked. And that's going back to being nurse. I was like, oh, I'll repair it. Like let me use it. Let me have it. I'll be the one that saves it. And I knew that never happened. Like I scanned it in, and then my deal was like, give it back. So I gave it back. And then this one came up online, but it was different. I'm like, wow. That's interesting how these kind of things come up, and I was interested in these stories, like you said, you like to hear about stories about family, right? So before when we had the first one, I started asking all these questions to my grandmother, and this was my grandmother, Soledad, Venegas Ybarra, and she was an awesome lady. She was the one that told all the stories. She was our story person growing up. And my father kind of had inherited that role, but he likes to spice things up. And I give you an example. Like one time I had this exhibition at the Sculpture Center in New York. And the curator is this guy, Anthony Huberman. And he told the artists that we could do whatever we wanted for the catalog, which is rare, right? Like usually when you have a catalog, it's about the show and the works in the show and the curators write things to make it sound good. It's good. But this one's like, no, we're throwing that model out the window and you guys can do whatever you want. So my wife Carla and I were like, oh, let's interview my grandma. So we went and interviewed my grandma, and we got all these stories, right? And then we went and interviewed my dad. And then my dad was like, oh, like, my grandma was like, oh yeah, the grandfather, your great grandfather married your great grandmother, blah, 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 right? But my dad was like, there was a horse and a waterfall. And he totally turned it into a Hollywood movie, right? But it was good anyway, it was a good story. So we recorded both of them and made this catalog, and then when it finally got published, her section was in English, and so my uncle was translating it and reading it to her. She get this phone call. And she was like, Mario, like everything your dad said is a lie. Why did you publish this? And I was like, oh, but it was a good story, like, she was like, no, everything I said was the truth, but your dad lied, everything is a lie. And I was like, oh my God, that's horrible. So I just said that, right? And then my dad called like 5 minutes later, right? You get the it's like the split screen, like in the movies, like one line, you're talking to your grandmother, like, and you go, better. You get the other one, and you're like, and then like your head, and it's like some weird Snapchat moment. Oh, do that filter. Don't steal it. Okay, so there's a thing. And so my dad was like, why did you even tell her? Why did you even show it to her? And I was like, well, what is it? It's a big story. Like, who cares? Oh, you now let me be able to go to the house for a while. Right? So there's like stories, and stories are intimate, and stories are interwoven, and stories are told through like filters, told through lenses, told through sensibilities, right? Like my father's interpretation does come from a Hollywood sensibility. Like he's a baby boomer, like grew up watching like Saturday morning matinees, like cowboy movies. His sensibility is filtered through. I mean, he grew up in Los Angeles. My grandmother comes from the little pueblito. Like he filtered it through like this lens, right? Like he amplified it in ways that, like, one, I was gonna be more interested in. I wish I could. I'm gonna make a videotape of him. Whenever I go see him, he lives up in the high desert in California, like from between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. And he lives in this place called Apple Valley. And it was founded by Roy Rogers' son. Come on. Like he moved there for like a reason, right? One time I went to pick him up and he had like a cowboy hat and like a sweatshirt with some kind of security company like logo. And I was like, Dad, what's up with this? He's like, no, because he has like these characters that he goes and he plays out. He like role plays, he cosplays. He's like your own cosplayer, right? He goes around like a cowboy hat and he like becomes a sheriff. And so when I go see him, he has all these new kind of things to kind of explain to us. And when we go eat with him at dinner, oh, it's the best. Because you know how they have the little thing, I take him to the buffet because one, we could agree on that, and then two, he could eat what he wants, and I could eat what I want. And then I bring Carla along, my wife with me, because they're also born on the same day, August 24th. So they have like some kind of like, astrological thing, like how did I marry a woman that was born on the same day as my father? It's like all this stuff is kind of playing out, so they can communicate with each other. And he makes these statements, and I'm like, oh, no, Dad. I try to fight him, right? Like all of us. Like, your father made something, or maybe it's an age where you stop fighting him, but you guys should be still at the age where you're still fighting and stuff like that. Right? But he'll like say something, and I'll be, oh no, Dad, just that, and then Carla would be like, no, but why? And she's sweet and she doesn't fight with him, so he answers the question. So we talk about like family lineage or something. So I have at the buffet they have a little jar and it has like Splenda and they're yellow and it has Equal and they're blue and it has the sugar packets and they're white, right? And then the salt and pepper shaker. So like 5 minutes in the story, it's like, okay, so this side of the family and all the Splendas are yellow. And this side of the family are the Equals. And then this happened, and then this deal shot this one in the foot, and like by the end of like a half hour, we have like a whole battle scene laid out with like Equal, and then Copetonana spilled out with the sangre, and there's a knife and fork and in the bridge, and I'm like, they're like, I take my phone with me or like my camera, be like, oh shit. I didn't watch Cowboy. Oh, come on. I'll put it in my seat though anyway, so don't worry. Right, so I'm like, Dad, like, what were you saying about the ghost and this? And so I'm just snapping photographs, like I just have it on burst, like, and Carla's asking him questions, and I'm like, oh my God. what an amazing situation, right? Like, what an amazing thing to be able to like, hang out with him and hear all stories, even if they're totally fabricated, I don't care, right? Like, somewhere there's like a morsel of truth in that yellow splendor pack that you opened up to tell us about how one deal shot the deal in the foot, right? And they're super interested to me. My grandmother passed away a few years ago. When we get back, so he tells all these stories. So she's supposed to be the truth sayer, right? So she's the dignified grandma, right? Like, she eats that love, she feeds it. She puts lard and everything in and so we ask her like a simple question, like, first immigrant question, oh, like, grandma, like, why'd you come to the United States? And we expect, okay, everybody knows that. What's that answer to that question? What does everybody say? What does everybody think you should say? Come on. What you say?
For a better life.
For a better life. Everybody say it all together. Why do you want to be artists? For a better life. Right? One more time, okay, just 1, 2, 3.
For a better life.
For a better life, right? Oh, that's every immigrant story, right? Oh, Grandma, why'd you come to this country? Or why'd you leave the South? Or why'd you do anything? For a better life! I'm still waiting for this damn better life! Right? And I chose to be an artist. Guys, have thick skin. Right? So we asked her, what did you come here for? She says, for revenge. Let's hear this one, guys. What did you guys come here for?
For revenge.
For revenge, right? Why'd you catch that fish out there?
For a better life.
For a better life. Exactly. For a better life, right? For a better life. But this sweet old lady tells us, revenge. We're like, oh my God, is she cowboy? Those cowboy movies? She told me we had like fistful of dollars on them. And so we're like, oh my God, for revenge? We're like, that took us by surprise. Like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, I had this boyfriend. Okay, it all goes back to boyfriend. Like, you guys sitting real close, the umbrella right there for a reason. Right? For the boyfriend. And the boyfriend went to war, and her boyfriend, I don't know, don't ask me this question. Sometimes they don't make sense, right? Well, the boyfriend went to war and from Mexico in the U.S. Army. I don't know how that happens, right? Who knows? Who fact checks it? I don't know. Right? So the whole time that he's at war, of course she dresses in She dresses in black. Can you stand up? You're all in black. Put your hoodie on. Can you put the hoodie on? So you're gonna be my example. Okay, so she's in black, right? She goes to church every day, right? It's like you're praying going to church. She goes to church every day, right? Praying for this boyfriend. Oh my God. Hasta donde she goes, right? Like on her knees and the thing with the flowers. And if anybody's mom did that, you know what I'm talking about, right? So I'm like, oh my God. Okay, sit down. But she doesn't think she's out for revenge too. So she does that every day, and then finally her girlfriends come and like, oh, Chumina, they call her Chumina. So they're not Chumina. Oh, we saw your boyfriend in the plaza today. And she's like, what? Yeah, we saw you. She didn't see his Instagram that he was on. He didn't Snapchat like in the plaza. He didn't do that. So it was back then. So the little cheese and birds came out, and they were like, oh, Chumina, we saw your boyfriend in the plaza. And she's like, what? And then we asked him, have you seen you yet? And he said no. But if you had been waiting this long, you could wait a few more days. So why did she do again? Revenge. She didn't know. Little did she know that my grandfather, who's a few years younger than her, was coming every day that he was gone and looking over the fence like, Chumina, like calling her and bringing her like tacos. I don't know what he was doing. And got laughed at it. I don't know what he was bringing her. Pomegranate. I don't know what he was doing. And he was like this handsome man. My grandfather was like a little mustache and tall. He was there every day. Maybe he was tall enough to see over the bodies into the yard. So he would be there every day, and little did hope mother went away to war that my grandfather was going, while she was standing in black. Okay, you look single, come on. You're a young single ready to mingle, come on. Yeah. Young single ready to mingle. Okay, you're just an example. Okay, so you're my grandpa, she's my grandma, and then this other dude comes back to town, and he's trying to talk to her the whole time, and then she gets this illumination, right? Oh, your boyfriend was making you do all that, and then come back and then let you know. And then I'm on top of that, he put you on blast, and he was like, oh my goodness, right? So my grandpa's like, I have family in California. Why don't we run away, elope, and get married, and forget that dude. Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Smell good. All right. So my grandmother leaves with my grandpa. Like elopes to California. So she's like, what better life I have? I'm saying, okay, look it. Go back on picture. Okay. So my grandmother was the youngest of all these siblings. So she was like the 12th one or 13th one, I don't know how many ones she was. And my grandfather was a ranch owner, and his wife was like, ran everything on the ranch, right? So she didn't have to do anything growing up. She was the baby. Who's the baby? I know you guys, baby. You're the baby? You're the baby? Do you guys really have to do stuff? Yeah. You have to do stuff? You did it? Okay, so it's a 50-50 split. All right. So when you're like, I'm sure the oldest one, who looks like she's the oldest one? She's the oldest one. Okay. Which one is oldest? Maybe this one? She looks like an older version of her, right? But I'm making she had a lot of chores to do. Right? She had to take care of all of them, right? And then, so she's like, I didn't know how to do anything. What better life? So we went and moved. Like, my grandfather took me to some strawberry field in a little, like, campo, and was there picking strawberries. And she was like, I didn't know how to pick anything. I didn't know how to do any work. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to clean. I didn't do nothing. Right? Like, everybody else did all that stuff for us in the house. So now this lady knew how to cook, right? When I was growing up, we always ate, and she always told stories, and she ran it. But this one didn't. Yeah, you know what I mean? So my grandfather said she was telling me the story that I tried to cook rice for the first time, and instead of putting, I filled it up with rice and only put a little bit of butter. So imagine people became like this I Love Lucy episode, right? Yeah. Rice is like coming out of the pot, and she's trying to get everything white out of the house, and she said that there was a latrine there for the people that lived in the camp. She wasn't throwing all this rice, white rice into the latrine and like running back. And the next day they posted a sign that nobody should throw food in the latrine because maggots are growing. And she was like, what maggots? That's my rice! So, I don't know, it's just like this backstory, right? These backstories of for a better life and for revenge. Again, let's go over those things again. What was the first one?
For a better life.
So what was the second one?
Revenge.
Revenge. Awesome. You guys are good. So that goes from like this kind of backstories, these stories about my family and listening to them and really being kind of intertwined and always wanting to be, like when everybody was talking, always wanting to be in that table or around to hear the stories. Also because, when you're around at the dinner table and all my uncles and aunts and everybody would come, and there's always this moment, I don't know if you guys have this in your house, but at my house it would happen. So like, you would be there talking or whatever, and then one of your tios would be like, pull something out of his pocket, like, oh, look what I got. Right? And it's like, I don't know what it is. Like, could be anything. Oh, this pocket knife. Or, oh, look what I got. This, right? And then there's one like, oh, let me go to the car. Let me go to the car. And then they come back and come like, oh, you got that knife? Like, oh, look at my knife or my power tool. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool, And then my grandma's like, oh, it's better. She goes to the cabinet and she's like, and like, pulls out like, you guys have this at your house?
Yeah.
It's like a show and tell, but with like people that are old school.
Yeah.
Not gonna sound like, this is my toy. No, it's like real things, right? Like, look at my pistol. So I love that. I love those times. Aren't they great? Like, that's the best time. And now when they always choose me, I know about like, oh, this person did that. I don't know, they shouldn't have dated them. All those things. Like, I don't like that much time, but I like to share the time of stuff. Oh, because then when you're they're cool stuff, and then you get asked for it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, that's cool. Can I have it? No. Come on, can I have it? What? And you always have the deal that don't even ask. They just be like, oh, that's cool. Oh, thank you. And you're like, damn, how am I gonna get in his truck? Right? There's always that one. Oh, you don't even know, like I have I wear sunglasses. Oh, let me see those shades. Oh, hell no. I got smart. They don't go this far. Like if they don't have these things, gone. Gone into their truck, gone into like this lane cement with them. They're all messed up next time you see them. Oh, or then you see them, oh, what happened to the shades I gave you? Oh, I gave them to this cousin. Oh, hell no. Like, what did you give them to? So objects, things are important, right? Things have like their. Okay, when I was a kid, I wanted to be two things. One, I wanted to be Indiana Jones because I wanted the hat and the whip. And secondly, I wanted to be a psychic detective because, because I wanted to be like, oh, by the river. I see a red shoe by the river. There's a path that goes up that way, right? Because there was a show called That's Incredible when I was a kid. Anybody remember That's Incredible? And I hated football because That's Incredible came on Monday night, and football would always push That's Incredible on the way. So That's Incredible had that lady Sylvia Brown on it all the time. There was one ghost story where she found this ghost in a Toys R Us. So when I was little, imagine a psychic detective, ghost, and then Toys R Us. Oh, that's what I want to do. And so I always have looked at objects and looked at things and tried to tell these stories. And I grew up with these boys. I grew up with these boys and girls, all these kids on my block. And we played together all the time. Right? We were always in each other's houses. And my mom worked. I was a latchkey kid. You guys know what a latchkey kid is?
You're on your own.
You're on your own, and you have a little way out with a little key. Oh, you guys don't have that.
bracelets thing.
They have bracelets too?
Yeah.
Oh, you were fancy. We just had like a string with a little key, and I'd open the door, right, and go in the house by yourself. Latchkey kid is a kid. Well, now they don't have that because all kids have to be supervised all the time. But when I was a kid, they still let you run around for free. So my mom would work, so I would have to go home from school, open the house by myself, and make my food and all this. So I was a kid, so my mom worked, I was at everybody else's house around dinner time, right? So I'd be at their house like 7 here. All the kids from the family are already sitting at the table. Wait, it wasn't even darker than that. I was trying to be dangerous. And the mom, the señora down the street, Betty, every Mother's Day I go to visit her because she was like, "Mom, are you hungry? Come and eat." And I'd be like, then I sit there. But that wasn't, she didn't have to do that. Like some moms, they were just like designated talk moms that kind of did that. But she didn't have to do that. And so I was always with all these kids at their houses. And I'll get to this picture. I'm just trying to give you some like flashback. So I grew up with these boys, right? I grew up with this kid, the Cerner brothers. So there was Richard, Michael, and Ralph. And they lived like on the next block. Next door to them was the Alvarez brothers. So the ones that were our age was Ruben and Tony and that sister named Norma. But then they had back there, they had as many siblings as the picture of my grandma. So I didn't even know certain ones because they were like out of the house and big and stuff, right? The ones we played with. And like directly across the street from the Alvarez brothers was the Montez family, and Angel Montez and his sisters lived there with their mom and dad. And then like half a block around the corner was Martin Martinez and his sister Miriam. And then like my house was like on the next block. And I was the youngest out of all the kids on the block. Like there was like a division, you know, there's a division with the kids you play with, there's like a group and then there's like, I was like a tween because below me were like the kids that played together, like the littler kids, and I was the youngest one of like the bigger kids, and they're like 2, 3. I'm gonna find out this one like 5 or 6 years older than me, I didn't know. I was like, so they were doing stuff that I was like, I was gonna try to do. And if you ever see my Facebook page, there's a picture of me when I'm in 3rd grade and I have 2 broken ribs, like both of my arms are broken. And like, they're like, that's my profile picture. And since I was the littlest one and they were trying to do bigger kid stuff, they were like trying to be like, that's incredible, like stuff, double, like jackass stuff back in the day. There were these Olympic rings. And Martine was like, oh Mario, like since you're little, like we can swing you on these rings and let's see how high you can go up to touch the fence with your feet. And I was like, yeah, right, yeah, like got up there and he started swinging me like shh, shh. And then I got to the pinnacle, I touched the fence and I was like, yeah, I did it. He's like, I didn't see it. Do it one more time. And I was like, oh, okay, right. I touched the fence, but when I was coming back on the other direction, I lost my grip and like flew past the gym mat onto the basketball court. And I was like, bah, right? And I got up, and both my wrists were broken. I had this huge black eye, and I was like, and my friends were like, look at your arms, Mario, look at your arms. And I looked down, and I went, ah! I just started swinging. My arms looked like U's, like horseshoes. And I remember my stepdad coming out of the house and I could fly out and like, what's going on? And all the neighborhood kids coming out and they had to like carry me over the fence and put me in the car. And then I had like my hands on the pillow and they're all broken. And I'm like, do we have to tell my mom? Eddie, are they broken? And he's like, yeah, they're broken. I'm like, do we have to tell my mom? He's like, yeah, we have to tell her. And so these kids were like, we lived across the street from elementary school, so we were like always playing in it and things like that happened. And when we got bigger in my generation, we had the opportunity to do all these other kind of more illicit activities, right? And since we were already daredevils, like, yeah, we're gonna jump off things, and we're gonna do all this stuff. Starting in mid to late 80s and early 90s, in Los Angeles, here too, right? Things are going down in neighborhoods that weren't always playing nice. Right? Like she had mentioned one of the titles of my exhibitions, like be good. If you can't be good, be careful. And my dad would always tell me that when I left the house. And if you can't be careful, make sure you can afford a lawyer. He used to always say. And so like when I was 14, going into my first year of high school, my mom and my stepdad got divorced. My best friend, Richard, who I'd grown up with, who was kind of like my big brother figure, he got a life sentence for murder. He was 16 years old, and he shot another kid, and they gave him a life sentence for murder. He's still serving in that life sentence today, so that was 1989. So he's been in prison 27 years. So that was the Cernan household, like one of the brothers went to prison. 1989. And it affected all of us. We had like, because we were so tight and knit group that it really affected our, we had this like post-traumatic stress from like, wow, like, that wasn't the right thing to do. I'm not advocating what he did, but he got caught and they gave him the sentence and it really ripped apart like all of our innocence, so to speak, right? And then after that, it was like, there's a term that I heard last week again and it was funny. And it wasn't funny, but after that it was kind of on like don't be calm, right? It was on. Right, it was on. And all of us just started doing all this madness. So by the time I was in 10th grade, my mom found these drugs I had, and so she sent me to closed unit rehab. It was like, you ever seen that movie Girl Interrupted? It was Mario Interrupted. Right? So I was like finishing high school and that, and then I got out of that and I finished school. So I grew up with all these boys that were super tight, and at the same time we were watching these types of films, right? Like Scarface, and I I don't know, my mom's a real movie person and like a photographer. And I'm saying movie, she's not a cinema person, right? She's like a movie lady. And she's always been a photographer. And she's like an old school chola. And she would take me to see films like this, like at 10. So like in 1983, I went to go see Star Wars with my mom. I'm like, whoa, mom, really, mom, that happened? And so all these boys I grew up with, I was like, oh man, Richard went to prison, like, I'm gonna go to school. And my mom sent me to rehab, I was like, I'm just gonna go be like good and go to school. So like if they wanted to go into other types of institutions, or commit activities that would send them to California state prison systems and later on federal prison systems, like I was like, fuck it, I'll go to California State universities and art schools and get federal loans to go to school, right? So it was a rocky time. And when I was in school, I was in the neighborhood, but I wasn't directly like in the neighborhood because I was always in school, right? I was always doing my homework. And one day when I went to I was in graduate school, and I just got out of graduate school, and I had to go to my mom's house to pick up mail, and I'm a real early riser. Like sometimes, whenever my family was like ranchero back then, and stuck, and I still get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, bam, time to work, right? I'm like I gotta go do something, and so I'm a super early riser, like 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to my mom's house to pick up my mail, and remember I told you, so there's like the Serna brothers, the Alvarez brothers, directly across the street, and Montes house, driving down the street, and if you guys have grown up in a neighborhood your whole lives, or been around a certain area, you're like, you notice everything, right? If any little detail is out of place, you're like, oh, what's that? And I kind of like stop and notice you walk. So like I'm driving down my mom's street, and I start seeing like all these black SUVs parked, like, we grew up across the street from the school, so there's all these SUVs parked, and I'm like, what are all these SUVs doing here? Like, I've got a beans at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not, the limousine ain't picking me up, right? And I'm like looking, and then as soon as I notice that, like it comes into my consciousness, I look over at Angel's house, and there's like 10 FBI and ATF engines like going through his front door. And I was like, oh my God, right? Like, it's like a nightmare. It's like, what's happening? You know? So I go to my house, I get my mail, and I'm like standing on the curb looking down the street, and there's like all this activity, this like X-Files happening down there. And I'm like, what's going on? So I get back in my car, and I drive back past mine. Right when I pass their house, they're like taking my friend Angel, like one of my best friends since I was 6 years old, and they're like putting his head into the back of the car, and like I'm driving by, and we make eye contact with me, and we put him in, damn. So what am I gonna do? So I go directly to his mom's house, and I'm like knocking on the door, and I say, they're like, get us home, it's over here. I'm like, tell the whole story. And then they're like, well, what should we do? And I'm like, I don't know, call a lawyer, I don't know, right? I don't know what to do. So before he had gotten busted, when I first got out of school, like any good MTV Cribs episode, he had like all his Scarface merch in the pad, right? I'd go visit him and like, what did you get this week? He's like, oh, I got this little model like of Scarface at the stairwell with like like all like damn, or had like 8x10 glossy of Al Pacino, like he had all the Scarface merch. So as soon as that happened, you know where all that stuff ended up? In the trash in the backyard, like his wife was like, this stuff's gone, man. So I'm like just like with my uncles, when they start pulling out their knives and stuff, I'm like, oh, what did I ask them? Do you remember?
Can I have
Can I have it? Can I have it? I noticed there's a box by the trash that has all the Scarface stuff in it. Like, can I have it? She's like, take that out of here, take it. And I'm like, oh, cool, we're gonna have like the beginnings of something. I don't know, how much time back? You guys hang out with me for a little bit?
That's fine.
Well, anyway, so I have all of this stuff, right? And I'm like, how do I, as an artist, where do we go, right? What is the thing? What are the outlets for us as artists? And okay, so we're here at Lund, we're here at the gallery. There's museums down the street. There's, that's like where I play, right? That's my space as an artist. I was like, well, what? And I worked with some of these guys at museums, right? Like, what do I do with this stuff? And I had this friend in Mexico City whose name is Vicente Lazo Bote, and he had made this museum in his toilet of the ex-president Salinas that made the big scandal, like, he made this, it was called the Museo Salinas, and it was in his toilet, right? And he had this poster that said, "Forget ready-made, make a museum." And I was like, I saw that as a challenge, right? So like, I've always seen Vicente as like as a kind of a peer, right, as a colleague. But also I kind of see him like in a crew. Has anybody ever been in a crew, any kind of crew? Like a B-boy crew or that B-girl crew? Right? So like if you were in a breakdancing crew, and one of the people in your crew did like 20 spins, right? And you're, oh, hell no. Like, stretch it out. I'm gonna do 25, right? So like when he was like, oh, he made this museum in the toilet, I was like, huh. I got out this box of Scarface stuff. I wanted to tell Angel's story, and one of the things that were in Angel's boxes was a paperback novel of the Scarface story, right? And just at that time, it's funny how things happen just at certain times, like kind of leaks, right? And there might be ghosts that set him up. There might be, curators that set him up, right? There's just like these things that happen. Your friends that set things up. Like just at that moment, a curator that I worked with many times, his name is Jens Hoffman, and he was curating in Miami a performance series right on South Beach. Okay, if you've ever seen the movie, there's a famous scene in the movie where they chainsaw killed this dude in the toilet in the restroom. Have you guys seen it? You know this scene where like they handcuff the dude and they're like, they get the chainsaw, like, rah, 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 right? It's horrible. And like blood is splashed on things, right? And dude, the performance was 3 blocks away from the hotel where they filmed that scene. And guess what the name of the character Scarface friend was that they chainsaw? Angel. So I was like, oh, what? Like, oh my God, I just inherited this whole box of Scarface, ephemera stuff, merch, gear, whatever it is. And like, I get asked to do a performance like 3 blocks away from the scene where this guy, Angel, was killed. And at this time, they had just sentenced my friend Angel, to 10 years in the federal prison system. And I was like, oh, this Scarface character, which was like this anti-hero of ours, growing up as kind of, was somehow or other, had planted these seeds of like what Angel kind of had done to get in trouble. And so in the book, there's a line that says, "For all I know, he had my friend Angel killed." And remember when they throw the dude out of the helicopter and then they hang? So they're like, "Oh, that dude, like, for all I know, he had my friend Angel killed." But like, for all I know, this Al Pacino character like had my friend Angel killed in the sense that he modeled this, right? This illicit activity. And so this exhibition I did for the Whitney Biennial in 2008. And when the curator came, so I did this performance on South Beach. What I would do is I would read from the book, and I had like my best Scarface gear on, like stuff you would buy like at the flea market or whatever, like a NASCAR Scarface jacket and all this stuff. And I would read from it, and I would act out things like this chainsaw and like the conversation. And then I would give people a walking tour over to where the building was, where they filmed the scene, that particular scene, this chainsaw scene. And over the years, like so I wore this, okay, I don't know what's in there. So I try to make these kind of different, like this is like the story, like tracing the stories of Scarface that I painted about the poem, the original Scarface film, some busted up a poem. There's some Chicago stuff in there. It's like all like, there are these little threads that go through everything that I try to find these two. And so the title of it was the Scarface Museum for all I know get my friend Angel killed. And there's gone through variations, like it's exhibited in New York initially, then it went to Switzerland, then it went to France, then it went back to Miami, then it went, I showed it here, this is a version of it in my gallery in Los Angeles at Honor Fraser Gallery, and now it's in New York at the Museum of Moving Image section. So this is, so I try to take these things or samples from everyday life, like these stories, and what I can tell you is like there are two veins that I follow. They're really simple. It's like what I would tell my grandma when she was asking me, what kind of art do you do? And I'm like, what have artists done always? They've done like portraiture and landscape, right? That's like the simplest way we can explain to people. Right? Oh, I make portraits. And if you drew really well, like I know, who's a good drawer? Don't be shy. Who's a good drawer? None of you. You're a drawer. The fishtail guy is a good drawer. So he probably sit up like an 8th grade, like, oh, can you draw my picture? You know what I mean? And he's like, all right, $5 and applesauce or whatever he's got, right? And then there's this other thing that all the kids that went to art school immediately after high school paint landscapes, right? It's like, oh, I paint landscapes, like impressions. You know what I mean? So like when I talk to my Nana, I'm like, well, Nana, like my art is about portraiture and landscape. How's that? But how's this a portrait? You know, this is a portrait of my friend Angel. Like, it's spread out. You know what I mean? It's like occupy space. And then my wife and I had a barbershop in Chinatown in Los Angeles, in a kind of raft or in a kind of community. The best way I could equate it to, the people had the signs like in the Olympics with like 10, 9, and we had a big presentation and we got all 10s and we went out to the barbershop. That was out of my closet, and at that time in LA, like all of Chinatown was like the art place. I guess it's still art today, but at that time it was kind of happening. And so we left this barbershop, which I don't have photos of, as a barbershop, but we exhibited art. So people from the neighborhood would always come in with, oh, we need a haircut. And I was like, we would be like, oh no, we don't cut hair, we show art. And they would be like, okay, well I used to get a haircut here. And I'm like, well, I can cut your hair, but yeah, it won't be so nice. And so that was more of like, I thought the barbershop was a kind of landscape, right? And then this project was a project that she announced I did in Philadelphia at the Backward Truck Museum. And when I was a kid in the neighborhood, because all my homies were all going to prison, I was like, well, what is like a hood thing that you could do and still art? You know, like, or do graffiti, right? So I was like, okay, like graffiti's like, don't get me beat up as much. You know what I mean? I could learn how to run faster. So when the kids I made this group called BOD, Better Off Dead, Brains on Drugs. All of us make, well, not all of us. I know there's some people that make crews. You just don't want to be, you're too shy to admit it. But you make these crews, right? And they're your homies, and you go do stuff, you go shopping things together and stuff. So that was a long time ago. That was like in 1991 that I started this crew. And up until today, there's different generations of kids in the neighborhood that still write the crew. And I'm always like, I get a kick out of it. That's my fishtail. I'm like, oh man, 23 years later, these kids to write a crew. I have no idea who they are. They have their own structure, their own whatever, and I don't know who they are. And this year was going to be the 23rd year of their anniversary, which I come from Wilmington, so it's like the 23rd dinner, everything's like, you know what I mean? So I made these huge crates, and I worked at the fabric workshop to make these like kind of outlaw jackets and different things for the crew. So this was this Butchers of Distinction. Everything that I could imagine BOD had stood for over the years, like I worked with them, and they helped me make all this stuff. And then I wanted to explain the image that is in the flyer, because it's also like comes from like the stories about my mom. So when I was a little kid, I grew up across the street from the school, right? And it was Halloween. And remember I told you I was a latchkey kid, my mom worked late. So my mom wasn't there like sewing my costume. If I was lucky, I got one of those plastic ones with like a plastic mat saying like, crunchy, or she would like help me throw something together. So it's Halloween morning. Even today, my wife was there because she says I do everything last minute. So it's Halloween morning, I get up, I'm like, my mom's getting ready to go to work, and besides asking for my lunch money, I'm like, Mom, it's Halloween, I need a costume. And she like looks at me like, this mother, right? And she's like, well, you know what you're gonna be? You're gonna be the Invisible Man. And I was like, oh yeah, the Invisible Man. So she goes and gets like a sports coat, like one of her sports coat that she had, and she puts it on me, and then she gets an ace bandage and wraps the ace bandage around my head and puts a pair of sunglasses on me and like a little hat. And like, okay, what school you in? You're the Invisible Man. Oh hell yeah, I was invisible. Like, walking to school like hot. October it's hot already in California. It's like hot. It's like then when you're little and it's Halloween day and they have you walk around the track at school. You guys don't do that here. It's cold here at that time. You remember the auditorium? Well, in California they make us walk around. You're like, hell yeah, I got my Invisible Man suit. Invisible Man suit. Nobody can see me. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. I'm the Invisible Man. And I had the dopest costume. Like I didn't win, there's somebody that was I didn't win or something like that. but I was like the Invisible Man. And so I wanted to do this, go to this kind of, so Angel was landscape, portraiture, the barbershop was landscape, then I'm getting to this where I get to do my own shows. I'm like, I want to do this kind of self-portrait exhibition called Universal Monsters, where I take on the personality or some kind of aspects of all the Universal Monsters, the classic stuff, right? And because I remember my mom making me this really like impromptu costume with the ace bandage. That was my favorite costume ever, right? And so what happens when you're invisible? Like you disappear, right? So it's this diptych. My other fear, like things come from fears, right? Your stories, some of your stories come from ghosts and all that. Well, my mom at some point converted from Catholicism when I was like 8 or 9 to Pentecostal Christian church, and it was at that time like everything was demonic, like backward masking music, like hidden messages in music. Your toys were all demonic toys. There was like He-Man and like Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff was demonic, and so she used to take me to church to watch these movies about the rapture, right? So I couldn't watch The Exorcist. I couldn't watch. There was a movie about nuclear war called The Day After. I couldn't watch that. I couldn't watch anything that was like creepy crawly. But she would take me to see these movies in the Pentecostal church about the rapture, where people had to die in martyrdom they had to get the mark of the beast and they had to die in martyrdom and then they would go up to heaven, right? So there would be this scenes where like a little girl was eating ice cream. And then the next thing she would cut and like her ice cream would just be there on the floor. And hopefully I was staying because that's kind of how I lived there. Right when she had dropped it and I'd be like, oh my God, this is the scariest movie. So when I would get home from school being a latchkey kid and nobody was home, my first thought was, Jesus came back and left me. The rapture has happened, and so I would get on the phone and go through the list, and like call my grandma. Nana, did Jesus come back? Did the rapture happen? No, she's just late. Okay. call my other aunt. Auntie Christy, did the rapture happen? Because my mom's not here yet. No, like the rapture didn't happen. Like you're okay. Like she'll be home later. And it wasn't like cell phone and all that. Like that already calling the whole list. Rapture had happened. So that was like this other, it was like, so in my mind, these kind of convoluted histories or these convoluted stories get like hybridized, right? Like, okay, I was my favorite, all-time favorite is Halloween costume was the ace bandage, Invisible Man. The scariest movie I've ever seen were these rapture movies where people just disappear for no reason. And so like they're becoming this invisible man. So, I do all kinds of stuff. Okay, butcher shop. So, you guys have the Art Chicago. Has anybody been to an art fair? Have any of you guys been to an art? Yeah, art fair. Art fair. Art fair. Damn, write that down. Art fair. I'm gonna text you. Anthony, can you text me some art? Alright, cool. So you guys they have a big one here. The huge one that happens in the States is in Miami, right? And I was going to do the Scarface thing, so that was the first time I'd seen it. That was like in 2005 or 2006. and we go to this huge convention center, and there's all these artworks, and they all look like butchered, it's not like you go to a museum. You go to a museum, you guys have the best museum, like down the street, right? You can go see in their, the new modern section, the exquisite corpse drawing that Alice did, and you can see all these beautiful things, right? And the museum takes care to make sure everything, those drawings aren't in some bright room, right? They're in dark rooms, and everything's lit properly, and somebody wore gloves, right, hopefully, when they're touching art. And they're fantastic, right? But if you go to the art show, it's kind of like a butcher shop, like a number. I mean, the art fair, like, get a number, like, what do you want? You're like, oh, get 3 libras de cabeza. It's like flies. They have those plastic things at the door. You know those, like blood flap things? So the flies don't come in. Like, damn, right? So that was the first experience I had going to an art fair. And I went home, and all my artist friends, my artist homies were like, oh, what was it like? And I was like, dude, it was like a cow visiting a butcher shop. Because I saw Tony Orsler thrown in the corner, and I saw, something else and it was like, it's not all well laid, it's like a boat show, I mean, they're getting fancier, but for me, I was like, that's not, the romantic notion that they train you at school to be, think that part of the job, and you see it for sale and kind of market like that. I don't know, it just reminded me of gross. So, I always have this running joke for that. What's an art fair like? For artists, I don't know about for collectors, because they're going to go get a piece of meat and they're going to go barbecue it. I don't know what they're going to do with it. But as an artist, and my romantic, I thought it was horrible. And so I had this running joke. So when anybody would ask me, "Oh, Mario, what do you want to do? What about art fairs?" And then anybody would ask me, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I want to do this thing called like a cow visiting a butcher shop and create a butcher shop inside an art fair and live out my fantasy of that." Art is about living at your fantasy sometimes. That's how it goes down. So this is a music video set where we created this music video that then we reinstalled this whole set in the Arco art fair in Madrid. So I got to do it. I got to create my vision of what a cow visiting a butcher shop would look like within an art fair context. This is a billboard. This is a mural in my neighborhood. So this is a mural that I had seen growing up every day, right? So it's these two guys are fighting, knife fighting, and then they fight books, and then they're all friends. The obrero working in the field, and then the hyena comes and breaks the chain of oppression. And I can tell you the backstory of my neighborhood. I grew up in Wilmington, I grew up in the port of Los Angeles. I didn't grow up in Hollywood or even in East LA. I grew up in the port. So all my mom is a longshoreman. So when they say, "Oh, you cuss like a longshoreman," I imagine my mom cussing. She does. And so this is the mural that we had in the neighborhood, and it was it's a hardcore imagery, right? So in our neighborhood, there's the east and west side, and this was an image of the restoration of the mural of my friend Arnaldo Vargas. He's the high school teacher, and he had all the kids on his school to always for it. And then another thing is "Oh, Mario, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, there's a billboard project. We're going across the 10 freeway across the U.S. Where do you want to be?" And at that time, Alabama had just passed the most stringent anti-immigrant laws, where they weren't going to let kids go to school and all this stuff. So I was like, man, shine that, right? So, what do you want to do? Where do you want to pick your images? What do you want to do? I was like, well, I've been shooting with my phone all these images of kind of everyday, American slice of life, Mexican American neighborhoods, right? Posting them on my Facebook page and on my Instagram, and I'm calling them bio aesthetics. They're just everyday stuff. And they go, "Well, where do you want to do it?" And I'm like, "Alabama." Why do you want to do it in Alabama? Because they just passed the most stringent anti-immigrant laws ever directed towards mostly migrant workers. And so I want to put right on blast through Mobile, images that I see every day that I think are beautiful. this image that I've seen my whole life. That really has like inspired me to be like, what? Like, go to school, right? Like, what are the books? Like, no, you just like, never had that back then. When I was 2. You know what I mean? Like, see, and the neighborhood is the east and west side. So the east side where it's red bed at, and the west side is the blue one. So my mom was from the east side. La Glory, east side really wants to be in. Right? And then they were like, oh, after we put them up on the outside, do you want to bring them in the museum? And I'm like, of course. And then, so in 2002, we had me, that little beard, I'm trying to do the mustache. So in 2001, I finished graduate school. 2002, my wife and a few of my friends started a studio space in the neighborhood I grew up in. And we called it Slanguage Studio. People were like, why do you call it Slanguage? We're like, well, there's this film called Blade Runner. You guys seen Blade Runner? And there's this scene where Ybarra Jr, of course it's Ybarra Jr, is like speaking to Harrison Ford on this like a fog, like street stand out in New Los Angeles. And they start breaking it down in this crazy language that's like this hybrid language of like German, Spanish, all these different things. And that's supposed to be the language of the future. So we're like, oh, let's go, it's language. Which is, and the movie set in 2019, so only got 3 more years. That's like practicing. Right? And so they have this like crazy language. So we're like, why don't we start the studio? And of course I wanted it to be for me because I got out of school. Like I was just talking to Amanda,
Yeah.
and she's gonna finish school like in 5 weeks. And she's like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can have access to the photo lab. What do you do? And like, you come to school or you guys are in school, you have access to all this stuff. Then like once you leave school, part of the fear is like, damn, how am I gonna make things? How am I gonna have access to space and also to my community, people and peers that I talk to. You know, right now you guys are here, you make something, and, you guys make stuff, and you could like walk down the hallway or be around each other. And when I was in school, when I was in art school, we had a group called the Latino Artist Student Organization. And that was at art school, that was the only group besides the queer group. So there was the queer group and the Latino Artist Student Organization, and the school had club money, like for clubs. And since we were the only 2 clubs, we could get money to do little things. And those kids that I was in that little group with were the ones like in the wood shop, like I did. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you reading? Like I went to the library, and like I said before, you'd have to sign the book. Like there's little cards in the book, and you had to put your name in it. And if I saw Ruben, my friend Ruben, Ochoa, or Marcelabia, or any of these dudes that were in school, I'd be like, hey, what did you do with that book? Like, bring it back, I want to read it. Like, we were like, so we would come from gang neighborhoods, and we were like nerd thugs. Like, what? Like, when you have like that book, dude, like, bring back that Bruce Nauman book, man. It's time for me to read it. And so we needed a space to have like collegiality or whatever. And my friend Angel, before he went to prison, he owned this building, and like I saw a for rent sign on it, and I was like, this guy was cool, I saw a for rent sign before he went to prison, and I was like, dude, I saw there's a for rent sign on your place, and he was like, oh yeah, I have some clients that come and look at it, and I was like, okay, can I come too? And he was like, okay, like come. So I would go with him, and I would walk through, the space, and I would see the person flip on their face, because there used to be a old panaderia, and it was all painted off. It was all sooty and ugly, and the people's face would be like, you had like a face like, nah. You know what I mean? They weren't gonna take it. Like, call them everything. What's up with that space? Oh, I was having another client coming to the space and look at it every day for like a week and a half. I called him every day. And then finally he was like, and I was like, what did I tell him? Like I gave him my deals and everything else. And I feel like, so finally, like a week and a half, he's like, just come get the keys. Because I'm sick of you calling me, just come get the keys. And so I went and got the keys, and we started this space, and I thought initially it was gonna be my space and my wife's space and my friend Juan Capistrano. We were gonna run this space, and it was gonna be our studio. But then all the kids in the neighborhood, like all the young adults, like that weren't as bright as we used to go to college, or didn't have to fill out the forms. It's hard to find them. You get any forms right now. And there was there would be like knocking the door. I'm gonna pretend I'm not nobody's there. Mom! So I was kind of looking in my studio, there'd be like all these kids with hair, they started doing stuff. We saw, like, okay, well, I guess this is what's happening, and then it show up every day. Like, I bothered my friend Angel, it's gonna bother me. And so since 2002, up until end of 2012, we ran a storefront right in the main street in the neighborhood, Slanguage, and we ran exhibition programming. We hosted, we also trained a lot of artist teachers. We hosted exhibitions. We hosted breakdancing crews. We hosted like young women's art collectives. Everything that the kids. So the idea, what happened here was facilitation. Everybody say facilitate.
Facilitate.
Don't play or hate.
Facilitate.
Facilitate, right? Don't play or hate. Facilitate. So all these kids are coming like, oh my God, we want to draw. I'm like, well, here's paper, go over there. Oh, I want an airbrush. Here's my compressor. Go over there. Right? And they're like, oh, dude, like these kids are taking over. And then I'm been really fortunate, guys. Like I'm in this baby. I come from a really awesome, like, lineage of going to school with really great mentors and really great teachers. And they've always sent people my way, right? They send other artists, curators, historians, reporters. Like I've been very fortunate, very blessed to have awesome people in my life that send me, that link me, right? And so I would have like curators come to the studio, and they'd be like, they'd come in and there's like stuff on the wall, right? Because I've been passing out art supplies, like they call me Blake, you know what I'm saying? And they would come in and they'd be like, oh, Mario, is this your photograph? And I'd be like, no. Well, whose photograph is it? I'm like, oh, that's Pearl. She's this graffiti artist. She climbs everywhere, and she's insane. I see her stuff on the highway, and I'm getting worried about her. And they're like, oh, okay, well, what is this? Oh, that's Eric's. Like, what are the drawings? Oh, he drew every Ozzy Osbourne album cover on notebook paper. That's his drawings. Oh, and then they would get confused, and they'd look at me, and they'd be like, oh, like they're calling like the king's new clothes on me, you know, and they'd be like, oh, so what do you do? And I would be like, look at that, and I'd be like, you're breathing in it, right? This space, you're breathing in it. Like I come here every morning, I sweep, I pick up the hobo shit, I throw out the trash, I facilitate, I go play a game. And so like, they took over my studio. Like, there were times like I'd be working on an exhibition, say for here at the Chicago Art Institute, and like they're making up and having this big workshop and enjoying themselves, and I'm back over there in the corner, right? They're trying to make an art show for the museum. Like, hey, go home now. Thank God everything we put on wheels. So like it would roll to the wall, we make stuff, roll it back out. And we did, and I did that because Vicente, again, I'm talking about my friend Vicente, like these other guys, like, oh, you're doing that towards students, what do you do? And Vicente he was in school at NYU in New York, and he was a Fulbright scholar. And I went to visit him in New York, and he said, you want to go with me to the office? And I was like, okay. Right, so we went to the office of the Fulbright. You guys know what the Fulbright is? It's an award to give people study abroad, right? And part of the condition was that he had to go back to Mexico, because he's from Mexico, to teach for 2 years. And he did. He went to Mérida and taught for 2 years. And I was getting my master's degree from the University of California, Irvine. And nobody said I had to do anything with it. There was no condition on my MFA, which, you know, by the way, stands for motherfucking artist. So like, there was no condition on this piece of paper. I got it, and I was like, I can make a paper clean. I could have Eric draw the outboard on it. I could do whatever I wanted. Like, there were no conditions on what I did with this degree that I spent like all this big chunk of my time with. I was like, man, we said that you have to go back and teach. So I was like, I kind of put that condition on myself with Slanguage. Like, I'll go back and do that with the neighborhood. Because I'm not going back to Mexico. I live in part of a place that was Mexico and is Mexico, but it's in California. And so I'm like, I'm going to go back and do that. So that was kind of like this condition. Like 2 years. He had 2 years. Dude, I went 12 years. On the strand, right? We're not a nonprofit organization. We're an artist run project. So there were times when like I couldn't pay the bill. Like I would tell them, watch out for the gas man, watch out for the bill man. If you come, make sure you lock the door. And then there would be times when he would come and knock on the front door and say, oh, go around the back. And then I tell the girls, like, go run and close the back door. Right? He closed the door, he's knocking, we're not here. go. And I did that for a long time, and then we've been able to, so this is Pearl's painting, that's how you got her stuff. So I helped, my wife and I, and partnered with the community on the strength to really develop these young artists. They were apprentices, right? And we call them artists, like young artists. They weren't at-risk youth. I'm at risk, and people ask me like, well, why do you do this so you keep them out of trouble? I'm like, not to keep myself out of trouble, right? Like, all the dudes I grew up with are doing long-term federal prison sentences, and I'm like, no. And we worked with major institutions. This was a residency we did at Boca, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles. We did this series of different performances that lasted 3 months. This is an image of Carla, my wife, and Raul Vasquez, who was one of the first apprentice artists that we worked with. And they did this performance called Dyslexicon. Yeah, we worked with all these different institutions and partnered with them to do projects. This was a group of young B-boys called the Dub City Tribe. And then we went out heavy. I lost a lot of weight over the past couple years. But this is Dub City Tribe, right? We're in the back of the studio. And this is Gunnar Kavnar, who is the director of the Ashford Museum, which is the largest collecting institution in Europe of American art. And right now they have a huge Matthew Barney exhibition on right now. And every time he comes to town, like he comes and hangs out with us right now. Like, oh, Gunnar, Dub City Tribe. Like, chill with each other, make friends. So in that, that's it for the picture. But in that, I would just like to share with you, to tell you that stories can be like all interwoven, right? Like our worlds can be all interwoven. Like things that we think are isolated in one place, like, oh, this is my family experience, or oh, this is my education experience, or oh, this is my friend's experience, or historical perspective, can all be like convoluted, can all get blurry, can all get put into like the same place. And I find that a lot with my students. Like, I'll go into I teach at UCLA, I've taught there for a long time, and I'll go into a classroom, and I find that there are kids that have been, pretty acclimated to all kinds of different spaces, and they're like, have like a real quick response time in terms of throwing their 2 cents into the room, and then I'll have these other kids that come from different experiences, and they'll like shy away from them, but they have these great stories. And I'm always trying to coax that out of them, like, tell your stories in the pot. Because they'll come and tell me, like, after, like, tell your stories in the pot, like, we need, I like this, the title of this talk, of this series, Voices, because we need more voices. We need like a different texture in voices. We need the fish tales, and we need the ghost stories, and we need the grandma stories, and we need you guys, like, communicating with each other, and we need to create kind of cohorts of young artists, and we need to create space for ourselves, and it's just a matter of asking, right? What do we have? What do we have? Huh?
Oh, can I have it?
Can I have it? Yes, we're better night. You can ask for revenge. But then we also gotta ask, what? Can you have it, right? And then besides just asking, like, bug. Like, how I didn't call Angel once. Can I have the space? And he's like, no, the man's coming tomorrow. He's gonna turn it into a Zumba place. We need more of those. Out in California, like, oh, he's gonna turn it into a weed spot. Like, oh, weed spot, come on, we don't need more of those. Oh, a dollar store. Oh, a dollar store. Like, why don't we turn it into like some crazy spot where kids make crazy stuff and have museum directors come visit them and hang out with them and break tents and whatever they do. Right? We make art for ourselves, but we have to be like start. And then beyond, can I have it? Obviously, we have to take it. Like, I'll leave you guys on the saying my grandma used to tell me, and she used to say, and I'm sure you guys have heard it before. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. It is repeated. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. All right, thank you very much.
I know we've all been here a little while, but we should definitely give time for questions. And I have a microphone because we're recording it, so if you ask your question, I'll give you the microphone. Ask your question. Make a comment.
Have it on. You come on down here, that question. Comments and things. You have to make the word of Mr. We good? Okay.
Hello. So I teach high school to students from my neighborhood in Pilsen, and I really relate to when you were talking about your teaching and students, like certain students feeling like kind of holding back and not sharing their stories. That's something that I struggle with a lot with my students because they've been trained to think that their stories are not important. So I just wanted to hear more about like some of your strategies and like what you use as a jumping board to have conversations, because like we talk about our grandparents, we do circles and stuff like that, but it's like really ingrained in them that their stories don't matter. So I just wanted to hear more about that.
Well, for us, I think there's so many things that I get to talk about, but modeling is the best. You know, right now with Amanda back in our studio, back at Slanguage, we have a program for young adults like your age called You Gotta See It to Be It. And that comes from a mentor that Rebecca and I had. His name was Montessori. He was a poet and playwright. She's now passed away. He ran in Long Beach, co-created a place called Homeland Cultural Center. And that's how he modeled. He would model things for us. So this is an example of how his workshop would be. First of all, he would pick everybody up because he had this little BW bus. So he would pick all these different people up, different age groups and stuff. And then we'd get to this little camper that was off the side of this park where the center was. And immediately first off, he would read one of his stories. Like, so he would share his experience with us. And might not be on the first bat. It's just like a consistent modeling. And then we would have to write, free write, with that as a model, like whatever the subject was. And then we would share. But then on top of that, he would put us in situations where we would have to share in groups. And that was really hard because we were young people and we had to share. So he gave us status. So that was really important. So besides just the workshop stuff in the class with like an intimate group, he would give us status outside. And he would make us go to galleries, things like this. We would be kind of his opening act. So we would all kid a group of us would read our poems or whatever we did with him. And then he would read his stuff. And that wasn't over time, over years. It wasn't something that, of course, at the first time we did it, we would be shy. But a consistent base of modeling over time, for me, has been the most effective thing. Like, say, for example, Pearl. When she was the graffiti girl I was talking about, when she was like 18 weeks, I see her all over the freeways and everything. She would come in. She's always been she's not a loud person or like me. I'm more like a sanguine personality. She's like a very observant, quiet person. But she would always ask like really core questions. And I would try to answer them. Like sometimes I'm like, fuck this kid, like he's asking a lot of questions. But okay, I'm gonna go there with her. Like, I'm gonna answer these questions. Dude, that girl, she's just getting a master's degree in sociology. Because she's like relentless, you know. But what we do is take time and model that. And then another thing is too, you can only provide tools, right? Like I could give you models for tools, but it's up to them. They have to use them. Right? And I used to get really upset with myself because, you know, the kind of community I work with, they would get in trouble. And I'd be like, oh, I'll take it personal. Oh man, I've been working with this dude or girl for a while, for such a long time. I can't make that decision. And I'll get it personal. I'd like when I cry and stuff, and I said, why do you take it so personal? I'm like, man, I've invested in myself with these people. And, but then like over time, with maturity, I was like, I've provided them with the tools. Like if they didn't use them in that particular situation, then that's on them, and that was their decision. And so you provide a model, just keep it consistent over time. Like you never know, like if these kids are still young, they're dealing with who knows what. So you never know what little seeds you're planting that will take root and come back. They might not be in the perfect the way that you want them to come back, but you'll see like how they come back to you. That's the best way to answer it. Any other questions? What'd you write another letter come? What were you doing? Facebooking? You have to have some kind of.
No, I did.
Do you have a question? I've met you before, huh? Well, what did you write anything special?
I remember your exhibition at the Art Institute.
Oh,
Still
okay.
have a little.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So I want to know how many students you bring with you.
Now?
I know for the installation of that, or
In 2008?
that's correct.
Oh, man. I didn't get to bring a lot of them here, but at that time I was really busy. So what happened was, check, this is a fun story. I was teaching at Williams College in the Berkshires in Massachusetts. And so they gave me this little house that was where I taught from. So I brought two of the people, because I was working on 3 exhibitions at that time. I was working on this exhibition, I was working on the Whitney thing, and then I was working on my first solo exhibition at the gallery I was working in New York. So I had to have help. So there I was able to bring 2. And so we were up there, and then we were driving everywhere. Like I would drive down everywhere. And so it was the first time I had to, so it was a trip to be with these young guys that were working with me in the studio and that were now assisting me on projects I could pay them. And it was the first time that they were in New York and all these places. And so it was funny because for me, I was kind of, I can do this. Like, I was just, you see how big I was? Because I was just eating my way through it. I was like, what? And it was a really beautiful experience rolling with them. Because we were like on the streets in New York or coming here or wherever. And seeing the things that they never thought that they would see. Like I'm not talking about New York, but I'll tell you another time when we were working in San Francisco, and one of them, we went to see the Golden Gate Bridge. So you see the Golden Gate Bridge, it says red thing, you see it in X-Men or whatever. I don't know the age, but it's hard to fathom like the size of it. You know, if you just have this like this semiotic read of the sign signifier of the Golden Gate Bridge, it's just like red thing. So we're standing there and it's fucking humongous, like we're underneath it, like wow, this thing is huge. And like I hear, I'm like, what the hell's going on there? Eric is crying. They got full on tears. And I'm like, dude, what are you crying for? And he's like, I never thought I would see this. So like those moments, for me, I call them like train crash moments, because I heard the story where Steven Spielberg, when he was a kid, he wanted to model trains, but not because he wanted to run them, because he wanted to film them crashing. Because he was like, that's what like his special effects, right? So like in the studio, when say we're bringing dinner or bringing somebody to travel with somebody, those trains crashing, like the neighborhood kid that, who knows, they could do and still could do whatever in their life, but we're getting to be here and experience something else. And we're going back. Like I had this friend, this Navajo woman, and she's been everywhere. And I asked her, what made the difference? Because she goes back to the red, she talked about the conditions and everything. And I go, well, what made the difference for you? Of getting to be mobile, move around. And she said, you know what, Mom, I think it was because when I was a kid, she was part of some program. And she said, I understood that leaving wasn't permanent. That she could come back. Like they would go on a trip, they go do whatever, and then they would go back. She would go back to the red. And for some people psychologically, in conditioning, like the conditioning we're talking about, it's like a fear of like leaving is leaving. There's a finality to it. But if leaving is like, if it's normal, like I always bug out before I fly. But I know I'm going back. I think day after tomorrow, I'll be back home, feeding my weenie dogs. I'll be out. But there is a deep fear, and I've been on travel. I've been everywhere. To the fact that I still have it. Like, oh man, I can come back. Like somehow I'm ingrained in that universe going right. So like, it's like taking like revenge. Why are we bouncing? Why are we going for revenge? Raw. Thank you. Any other questions? One last one? I'll go for one last one. Pretty cool? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.